What's up, YouTube, Gen X? Where should I start? Alright, this video is definitely inspired from a conversation I had with a young cat. And he's biracial, black and Filipino, and coming into college, he was worried because he didn't feel like he would fit in. He didn't feel like he would fit in with the Filipino crowd or with the black crowd. But for him, it turned out that he had no problems in fitting in with the black crowd. He was embraced, and things were okay. And if anything, it was more so not fitting in with the Filipino crowd. So we're talking, and I let him know that, listen, you shouldn't have been surprised. You have to understand that the reasons why biracial people may not fit in with the non-black side, right, versus why they may or may not fit in with the black side are completely different. They're completely different. I mean, from a sort of racial purity standpoint, we've already accepted the one-drop rule. So I don't understand where all of a sudden we would have this sort of issue where you're not black enough. No, we've fully accepted that, hey, if you have one drop of black blood in you, you're black. Now, people may be given a hard time here and there, the women know, when it comes to beauty and what's seen to be attractive or what's not. Yeah, you'll have your hiccups here and there, but for the most part, it's something that we've accepted. Whereas with other groups, you get kicked out if you're not fully of that group. It doesn't matter if you have similar economic sort of upbringings. And that's what he understood. So it didn't matter that he was coming from the same sort of socioeconomic communities as other Filipinos. Because he wasn't fully Filipino, they weren't accepting of him. And I've seen it happen with people who are biracial and who are white. Right? It's kind of a toss-up if you were black and Hispanic. But for them, it really had little to do with, your upbringing. What community did you grow up in? A lot of it just came down to the fact that you're not pure, or relatively pure. So, therefore, you're not fitting in. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say. And that's the issue that he got with the Filipino side. Because he wasn't fully black, they weren't fucking with him. It had nothing to do with not knowing the culture. It had nothing to do with his upbringing. He knew all that. Right? He was closer to his mother, who was Filipino, and her side of the family growing up as a kid. So if anything, he was more Filipino in terms of identity than he was black. But yet he still didn't fit in. Why? Once again, because he wasn't quote-unquote full. But on the black side, that rarely happens where, we're not accepting because you're not full black. Get the fuck out of here. The black community prides itself on celebrating how much non-black blood you have in you. I got Irish in me, or I got Native American, or at least a lot of the women do. So once again, this whole concept of not being fully black, so therefore you get kicked out, I don't buy that one bit. Don't buy it. We fully embrace the one-drop rule. It is what it is. So a lot of the times when you look at, you're biracial and I'm not fitting with the black side, a lot of it comes down to just how you grew up. So if you're biracial and you grew up upper middle class or upper class, more than likely you're not going to fit in. Why? Because you're coming from a culture that is different from where the mass of the black folks are coming. So it's that cultural sort of socioeconomic divide that is not allowing you to partake. And what annoys me is that is the same shit that you have with black people who grow up upper class or upper middle class or upper class. It's the same issue. I'm not black enough. I don't fit in. So I do get annoyed when you have the biracial girl who says, I don't fit in either way, this and the third. And I'm like, you have the black chick who's having the same fucking complaint that you have. Because she grew up in the same sort of environment. You don't talk a certain way. You don't dress a certain way. You don't act a certain way. So therefore, you don't fit in. But it has little to do with the fact that you're biracial and you're not fully black. Anything, it's just more cultural. Anytime, if you're black and you don't subscribe to the hip-hop culture or that sort of BET, VH1 culture for the women, you're going to have difficulty fitting in. So that is what separates you. So for me, I don't see this sort of, this racial purity that doesn't allow biracial people to fit in with the black side. No, it's a cultural sort of issue. It's a cultural issue. You know, what annoys me time after time is this constant throwing out of, you know, here's the biracial girl or the biracial dude that doesn't fit in. Both his parents are educated. He's living a sort of upper middle class sort of lifestyle. You're like, well, I don't fit in. But yet the black dude, right, who's fully black, has the same complaint, and people aren't putting two and two together. You know, so it is what it is. So that's just something to understand. I get sick and tired of this sort of, well, I don't fit in because I'm not fully black, as if that is the same reason to why it doesn't work for the black side. Get the fuck out of here. Now, I'm not even saying, you know, this is something that where black folks should be awarded points, but it's something that people have to understand. You don't fit in with the other side because you're not fully that person. You're not fully white. You're not fully Asian. So they don't want to fuck with you regardless of how much you know, how well you know the culture. You're just not full. It is what it is. I can't help that. I'm not responsible for that. You know, black people can't do anything about that. But on the black side, once again, it has little to do with not being 100% black. I'm sorry. It is a cultural thing. So you have black people who are fully black, whether they're African, Caribbean, or wherever. Shit from Europe, I don't know, right? Who grow up a certain way, right? Who grow up upper class, upper middle class, and or subscribe to a non-hip-hop, non-BET, VH1 culture, who therefore feel isolated. So it is a cultural thing, not a racial thing. Just to put it out there, because I think that clarification has to be stipulated. It is a cultural thing and not a racial thing. The dumb part about it is I grew up with a fair share of biracials who grew up lower income. Right? You know, mom was down and out white, right, or Hispanic or Asian, right? You know, it's not only black women that make poor choices or whatever. I understand that. Right? So I grew up with my fair share. And when it came to fitting in and identifying, they had no problems with identifying with other black people. Yeah, the girls may have got hated on a little bit because they were prettier or whatever. But, I mean, at the end of the day, they would beat your ass. Right? You know, give them hell, they would whoop your ass and pull your hair out. So that's just how it was. Same thing with the dudes, too. Right, you know, yeah, you know, you may have got some flack for not being tough enough or whatever, but if you could play ball and if you were quick and you could run fast and you can catch a football, you were straight. Or if you dressed a certain way, you know, you had the, you know, the Penny Hardaways, you know, if you had the right type of kicks, the right type of clothing, you fit in, you were okay. You know, this is what, the late 90s, mid 90s, so, you know, if you had the proper gear, you know, you had the Tommy Hill figure on or whatever, like, you were straight. You identified with the culture, so it didn't really matter that you were biracial. You still fit in. So it is what it is. That's my video. Y'all take it easy. God bless. Excuse me if you heard any background noises. I'm in the parking lot on this one. Y'all take it easy. God bless.